Welcome to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word, and I'm Roberta Foster. Today I welcome AJ Hurley to Author's Corner. He is the National Director of Outreach for the White Rose Resistance, the creator of the film The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West, produced by the White Rose Resistance. And here's a little bit about AJ. He is a fiery torchbearer of the pro-life movement. As a national speaker, activist, and leader in the fight against the culture of death, AJ is an unrelenting force bringing change to America. He made national news when he and a group of activists exposed a box of unborn babies in Washington, D.C. on March of 2022 outside of an abortion clinic. He went on to co-found the hashtag Justice for the Five campaign to highlight late-term abortion and spent years uncovering a fetal organ trafficking ring funded by taxpayer money. Before becoming a full-time activist, AJ spent 8 years as a neonatal respiratory care practitioner, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that. But he was dedicating himself to saving the lives of most vulnerable patients. This experience fueled his passion to protect unborn children. AJ, thank you so much for finding time to talk with us today on Author's Corner.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. Okay, so a lot of activity going on right now. It's very timely for us to be talking about this. Your title is National Director of Outreach for the White Rose Resistance. Tell us a little bit about how you became involved with that organization.
Yeah, so Seth Gruber is my best friend. We've been friends for quite a while. And, he and I have always been super aligned. And so the stars finally did align to have us connect. And now I'm serving as the kind of ministry liaison for all the outreach and activating Christians across America to end child killing in this modern day Holocaust.
So tell us about the film. What is its goal?
Yeah, the goal is to help Christians remember their history to the end that we reclaim our place in the corridors of history with engaging on the cultural evils that we find ourselves in. This issue is not a new issue. All of the issues in culture that we are dealing with, whether it be the LGBT perversion, whether it be drag queen story hour, whether it be child killing of various sorts, everything. We live in very precedented times. The brave warriors of Christian resistance throughout history that is our birthright, and helping Christians reclaim that honor and see themselves in that story is so just vital to the missional work of God's people across America.
And you believe the mobilization needs to run through the church, and why is that? Why can't it just be a political issue? Well,
this strange thing happens where we go to politicians and they say that this is a Christian issue. Go talk to your pastor. And then we go to pastors and they say, this is a political issue. I don't deal with politics. And I think the great tragedy right now is that pastors and Christians have been taught very well that that if they can just basically stay away from these issues, they can fill their churches and their coffers. And meanwhile, the children are the thing that suffers. Satan loves this, by the way, because if he can craft every single type of a evil as political, he can ensure the silence of the American church. And God has put one institution, one group of people, the only type of people that bear his image in his hands and feet, and the only type of group in which Christ is promised the gates of hell will not prevail against. And so if you want to reclaim your identity as a Christian, well, then that identity means being his hands and feet anywhere it finds itself. And what he's promised is the church is salt. The church is the light, that the lighthouse on the hill that gives the true north to the ships wandering at sea. In society, we are that salt preservative mechanism for civilization. So helping Christians understand that, and that it is our role and our responsibility. The simple fact is that why it has to be us is not because we're so great. It's not because we're so wonderful and pure. It's really, I mean, for no other reason. It's for the fact that no one else is coming to save these children. For that fact alone, it has to be us. The pro-life movement was inaugurated 2,000 years ago when the second person of the Godhead became a man and entered into every single stage of human development. So that further dignifies and forever dignifies the human person, and it's his hands and feet that have the responsibility and calling to champion that cause.
Wonderful. Okay, so one of the things that the church fought for a very long time was the effort about Roe versus Wade. Well, hey, the Supreme Court came out in our favor. And, suddenly the emphasis of fighting for the unborn seemed to have died. I mean, we won that, and then tell us a little bit more. What happened to the church? Seems like we fell asleep.
Yeah, this landmark case obviously made abortion possible, and then some companion cases, and then end up in 94, there was Planned Parenthood versus Casey that told the states that they can't limit abortion prior to viability. Right, so we were trying to overturn this so that Christians can do the work of protecting children. And what the overturning of Roe v. Wade did with Dobbs is the Supreme Court said this has never been a constitutional issue. The issue of regulating abortion has been returned to the people and their elected representatives. So that is everyone, right? The people and anybody that holds political power. So that's state and federal. So basically what it did was take the handcuffs off of the states to be able to enshrine the right to abortion to the state, to the very day of birth, or completely abolish it altogether. So now what we're seeing with this unrestraining force that's emerged is states like New York have enshrined it to the day of birth in their constitutional amendments, the Constitution of their states, and other states like Texas have life at conception bills with there's loopholes there with abortion pills, and that's why we're seeing the increase of abortions through mail order pill abortions. Right now, there's a 10-year high of abortions across America, and it's because Christians have gone to sleep, and then we thought Roe v. Wade somehow ended abortion without realizing it.
Yeah. Okay, so right now I'm talking with AJ Hurley regarding the film The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West. You're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So tell us a little bit about the fact that this film has recently been released, and is there also a book of the same title?
Yes, there is a book written by our very own Seth Gruber. It's called the same title, The Last Stand, and why we named that is because this is the last stand for America, right? We've almost approached a borderline between utter destruction and the preservation of society. It's kind of like a which way Western man type of motif, and the reason for that, basically to encapsulate the point, J.D. Unwin was a researcher, and in the 1930s, he released a book called Sex and Culture, where he reviewed, I think, over 86 different countries, 8 civilizations over a course of 5,000 years. The synopsis of all of his research said this, that there is 100% correlation between when a society ends up enshrining the right to total sexual freedom and its demise. Every society that has not only practiced total sexual libertinism, but has even enshrined that into its laws. They have basically set a time clock for 80 to 100 years of their own destruction. And the reason for that is very simple. If we give ourselves over to sexual libertinism and the very destruction of the body, it ends up leaning towards the type of passions of a bloodier sort. And so, I mean, we understand this as Christians. The founders of America understood this. They knew that freedom was dangerous, and so John Adams said that the Constitution is dangerous. It's only designed for a moral and religious people, because if you give people unlicensed freedom without the capability of self-government, you've given them the tools of their own destruction. And so, we are at this juncture now that ever since Roe v. Wade was passed in 1973, it's set this time clock for America. Will we give in to the passions that will result in the destruction of America, or will we get back to the foundation of Christ in civilization? So the film, it starts with the apostles and tells the story of 2,000 of years of Christian resistance and helping Christians know their history and reclaim the brave legacy of Christian resistance across America.
And so tell our listeners how they can find out more about how to see the film.
Yep, we are screening the film all across America. You can go to thelaststand.com. Previously, our last film, The 1916 Project, was wildly successful. It screened at about 1,500 churches across America in different locations. And so you can go to thelaststand.com, view the list of places that are screening the film, and you can even sign up to show the film at your own church. Just by filling out a simple form, you can also screen it yourself.
Fantastic. Well, AJ, you have been on the front lines of this fight for quite a while, and you continue to stand for the unborn. And so tell us how you stay in this work without being consumed by what you've witnessed or will continue to witness.
If I had an answer to that question, I think I would be in a much healthier place. In my bio, you read that, I held dead babies that have been the victims of abortion. And I'll tell you that it never leaves you the same.
Yeah.
And I wish that everyone had that experience to understand what we're fighting against. But at the same time, you never fully recover from that. And you find out that, anger and even righteous anger can only get you so far. It's love that has to take you the rest of the way. And I will say to the average Christian or everybody listening to this that, you and I do not have the liberty and the leisure of living a normal life while arms and legs of children are being violently pulled off their bodies. And so how do you maintain biblical balance? I don't know. But I know that we have a brave legacy of Christians that have fought, bled, and died for the liberty that we now enjoy. And it is our birthright and our responsibility to do whatever it takes so that we maintain it.
Well, AJ, you are also a co-founder of the hashtag Justice for the 5 campaign. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when these babies were found by two friends of mine, Lauren and Teresa, they called my wife and I, and we sifted through a box of 115 babies. 5 of them were in the 3rd trimester. Many of them were nearly full term. As a respiratory therapist taking care of these little babies, I can tell you those 5 all could have survived outside the womb with little to no help at all. They were turned over to the Justice Department, and they now several years later still sit in the medical examiner's office in D.C. waiting for a congressional hearing because they have overwhelming evidence of partial birth abortion and federal crimes of infanticide. This is the seedy underbelly of the pro-abortion industry that they don't want people to see. and they are often being covered up behind closed doors. And even when you bring this evidence right before them, the authorities in question will not even investigate it. Mm-hmm. So the evidence is overwhelming. One of the babies, her skull was snipped in classic partial birth abortion fashion. Mm-hmm. Another baby was still in its amniotic sac, completely undisturbed. And we want justice for these children. And I was hoping that the Trump administration would give more effort to having these babies see justice. But at this juncture, it hasn't transpired.
No. We find real quickly that the issue of abortion and homosexuality are no-touch zones, it seems like, even for people that we would hope would take a more righteous stand on those issues. Well, today I've been talking with AJ Hurley about the film The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, The War for the West. So AJ, tell people how they can find out more about this film and the White Rose Resistance.
Yeah, so you can find us at the White Rose Resistance by going to www.thewhiterose.life. Okay. And you can see or screen the film by going to thelaststand.com.
All right. So one more time, we're talking about The Last Stand, Christ or Chaos, and we've been talking with AJ Hurley. We certainly thank the White Rose Resistance for this opportunity to encourage our listeners to look into the availability of this film for their church. AJ, thank you so much for being with us today.
God richly bless you. Thank you so much.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's interview or would like to hear it again, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform or through our website, kneo.org. Join me again next time on Author's Corner. I'm Roberta Foster.